Amin. Go on, English. AJ. Assalamualaikum, Vichi. Today we will discuss another very important topic when we are discussing virology. The human immunodeficiency virus or HIV virus infections are very common, and this is the most important topic after hepatitis, as it's very frequently observed in patients. While we are screening for the blood, people usually don't appear with say, any specific clinical finding or like that. But whenever they are screened for something, for any medical, for their jobs, or for giving blood to other people, they found that they are already HIV infected. And this is very unfortunate that in Pakistan we don't have much research studies about it regarding this. We have to do a lot of work in which we can screen those patients and in order to prevent the mortality rate, which is very high because of unknown etiology. Human immunodeficiency viruses are basically the virus that causes the AIDS, and first exposed in 1981 in the Central Africa. Infection was unknown at that time, and it has killed more than 20 million people up to now in worldwide, with 3.1 million people dying last year alone. An estimated 45 million people that we have know of are currently living with the HIV. Maybe they know or they don't. This is one of the picture or dramatic appearance of the incidents which was reported regarding the HIV infected people. And if you see, it's increasing every year. And this time period of 1990 to 2005 is a comparison between worldwide infections of HIV and the Africa part only. You can see that more than half of the amount is present in the Africa and African regions. And later on, the other world is also infected. This is also the same kind of a picture, but a different way of a statistical analysis. And in this one, you can see that Asia is 21.4% more vigilantly present having these infections of HIV. Then there comes the 5.4 is high income countries like European countries in where they are well established and they are developed. Then in Latin America and Cambric, and then the Eastern Europe and Central Asia is there, and the last one is Africa alone, that is 64.4%. So you can see that a lot number of HIV patients are present in the Africa region, that with the percentage of 64.4. Basically, the HIV virus are of two different types, depending upon the areas they are found. One is which is more prevalent and present all over the world, worldwide, an epidemic. And the second one, that is HIV-2, is primarily present in Africa, especially in the western part of it. And they are not transmitted as efficiently as the world, the HIV-1 is transmitting. And the severity of the infection varies from person to person, while the genome from are more closely related to SIM than HIV-1. So their genome is different a little bit. The HIV-1 likely descended from the a chimpanzee, which is SIV-CPZ, and pantroglodytes. It is called named as pantroglodytes, and the scientific name of the descended one for the SIV sim, that is Suti Mangabe, is a name of a monkey, which is the main person who descended it from the animals to the humans. In 1981, CDC noticed that the increase in the number of cases of Kaposi sarcoma and pneumocystic carinine pneumonia. And this is the Kaposi sarcoma, friends, where the skin hyperpigmentation is there. And this is your pneumocystic pneumonia, with which there is pneumonia-like appearance, but the lower lobes are usually removed. In 1982, the term AIDS, that is acquired immunity deficiency syndrome, is used for the first time for those patients who are having this infection. In 1983, the Institute of Pasteur Virus (CDC) issues warning to the blood banks about the potential problem. In 1984, Dr. Robert Gallo claims the discovery of HIV. This is basically the history of initial part of the initial history of the HIV. What are the main characteristics? Basically, the virions are spherical in shape, and it's basically a RNA virus with both strands, positive and negative polarity strands. And there is genomic RNA, the reverse transcriptase is there, lipid envelope is there. The envelope contains three different structures, that is lipid membrane, the GP120, that is glycoprotein 120, in glycoprotein 41, and in the core there is RNA and reverse transcriptase and integrase and protease. These three are very important enzymes as far as the replication is concerned. These type of viruses are basically a subgroup of retroviruses, and which is known as lentiviruses. They are slow viruses as well, because they have a very slow infection and a long incubation period. So they can be shedded in the environment for a longer period of time. This is basically the difference between the basic sequelae of HIV-1 and HIV-2. If you see, there is a major difference of the regulatory and environmental proteins, that is REV, NEV, and TAT. While in here, they are very small and they are at different places. So you should know that this is the basic difference between the sequelae of genomic proteins of HIV-1 and HIV-2. What is a mode of transmission? Basically, there are three different and very important, very common mode of transmissions. The first one is permucosal, especially if you have a sexual contact. So this is very important. Second one is parenteral sharing. That means if you are addict, especially it's present in the addicts, because nowadays medical field people are very, very conscious about using a new syringe whenever a new syringe for any injections or any medicine they want to have, because they are very well known now, up to now. But these are very spread by the age and the the addicts one, and those are addicted to different intravenous drugs, and they share the same needle for taking and taking those intravenous drugs. The third one is very important, that is vertical transmission through mother to the baby. It can be during the pregnancy, or it can be at the delivery, or it can be during the breastfeeding time period of the child. And the fourth one is blood transfusion, which is very important, very common in the small hospitals where there's no screening, proper screening of the blood. They used to take blood from wherever they get, whatever the condition of the blood is, and they transfuse the patients. Unfortunately, this is a major reason of spreading the blood infection, blood mode of transmission of HIV. This is the life cycle of HIV, and if you see the first step, whatever is that HIV binds to the immune cells using CD4 cells and a co-receptor. So they use the CD4 cell receptor and a co-receptor, and it gets inside the cell through this. The HIV fuses with the cell membrane and injects the core with the RNA genome. After that, the regulatory proteins copy HIV RNA, reverse transcriptase copies HIV RNA into DNA, and then the integrase incorporate HIV genome copy into the host genome. And the proteases processes immature the protein into a mature HIV protein, and the virus buds out from the cell producing many progeny like other viruses. So this is very important that the HIV is inside the cell through CD4 or a co-receptors at the cell membrane, and then the HIV gets injected into the RNA genome and into the core and RNA genome, and this RNA genome is then copied for the DNA and then integrated into the host genome, and there they form the main regulatory proteins and proteases are released, and these proteases basically what happen is that they mature the immature proteins of HIV, and at the end the new HIV viral proteases get buds off as viral progenies. During the last 24 hours after exposure, the virus attack or is captured by the dendritic cells, that is one of the type of the phagocytes in the mucous membrane and the skin. Within 5 days of exposure, the infected cells make their way to lymph nodes and then to the peripheral blood and where the viral application occurs because it's very rapid inside the cell or RBCs of the host. Host cells infected with the HIV have a very short lifespan. The HIV continuously uses new host cells to replicate itself. So once cell is died after the progeny left the cell, then those progenies get into the other cell in order to divide further, like 2 into 4 and 4 into 8, all of these things. Up to 10 million individual viruses are produced daily. What is a normal immune response? Once you get infection with the HIV, the first response will be innate immunity, and inflammation will occur, and the macrophages and the neutrophils limit initial infection. Arming of lymphocytes, that is adaptive immunity, will be the second response, and the T cells and the B cells activated, and elimination of infection will occur. What is adaptive immune system? Consisting of lymphoid organs and tissues, and the B cells and T cells are produced from the stem cells in the bone marrow. CD4 cells are helper T cells, and they activate the B cells. CD8 and the macrophages when a specific antigen is present. B cells recognize the specific antigen targets and secret specific antibodies. T cells, normally what happens is the T cells are the kill cells that bear the specific target antigens, and this is phagocytes, which includes the monocytes and macrophages, help in the presenting antigen for the immune response. The complement system consists of 25 proteins and help in the lysis of the cells. Opsonization and phagocytosis will occur. When the immune system is weakened or destroyed by a virus like HIV, body is vulnerable to opportunistic infection. Now, in repeating all these things which you are already done in immune system, is that you should have a revision that normally what happened is whenever there is any virus or any foreign particle in the body, what will happen? First, we will initiate with the initial innate immunity, and then it will be later on through the adaptive immunity, what is the normal immune system. Now, effects of HIV on the system are 3. Number 1, there is destruction of CD4 T cells population, and number 2 is immune system effect due to the HIV system, and the third one is progression of HIV infection to AIDS. Now, people can ask you what is HIV infection and what is AIDS. HIV infection is when the patient gets infected by a human immunodeficiency virus, while the AIDS is autoimmune deficiency syndrome. How it occurs is that it defected, the HIV has destructed your immune system at that level, at that much level, that your body start to form a barrier kind of thing, so that the body immune system will not work on auto basis, and if there will be a deficiency of a certain response of immunity and the presence of any kind of infection in your body once you are infected by the HIV virus. So you should remember the 3 different areas where HIV is hitting your immune system. Number 1 is simple destruction of CD4 cells and T cells. Then is the immune effects due to the HIV infection, that is your first appearance. And the third one is progression of HIV infections to the AIDS level. Destruction of CD4 cells, there is direct virological mechanism as well as the host immune responses, which results in CD4 T cells destruction. Number first is direct virological mechanism. HIV destroy individual infected cells through cell lysis, and the formation of the syncytia when the large number of uninfected cells fuse with the infected cells. And this results in the death of potentially 100 of uninfected cells. And half-life of an actively infected CD4 cell is less than 1 day, 1 to 2 days. And this is very important as far as your mechanism of immune system is concerned. The second is the host immune response. First is direct destruction. The second one is both humoral and cell-mediated immune response destroy the infected CD4 cells as well as the T cells. So HIV-specific CTL cells are infected CD4 cells basically, and these are the antibodies that recognize a variety of HIV antigens that are produced and antibody-dependent cell-mediated cytotoxins. HIV acting as a super antigen activates many CD4 cells, leading to their decline. If you see this, this is a very, very good picture, and it will tell you what is the role of CD4 T cells. And the role is that they secrete cytokines that are enhanced in activation of, and they are responsible for the activation of B cells, then T cells, and macrophages. CD4 T cells and the Th1 cells and the B cells and the T cells are secretory for the phagocytic immune-mediated immunity, and Th2 is basically cell secreted from the interleukin 4, and then it will release more than IgG and some studies demonstrated that the portion of Th4-1 T cells are decreased in HIV patients, but Th1 cells increases. This disrupts the normal balance of the cytokines, which is due to the destruction part. If you see this picture, these are the pathogen or antigens in the body when they enter. There is an intracellular activation, there is antigen presenting cell activation, and then extracellular activation. The intracellular activation is doing by interleukin 12, while the antigen presenting will be occurring from interleukin 1, and then extra activation will occur from interleukin 4. Now TCP and THO and B cells, these all three cells are activated again. And then what happens is that Th1 and Th2 are formed. Then B cells mature into plasma cells. Then the B cells basically mature into plasma cells, and the TCP cells mature into C cells. All three will do what is the T cells in the macrophages basically produces cytokines and cytotoxins that results in lysis of the infected cell, digestion of the viral or the foreign body, and the inflammation part of it. While the plasma cell releases immunoglobulins, which will gives you potential immunity against this virus or this any foreign body later on. Now, what will happen is that this destruction, this part of it is destructed by or decreased by the HIV infection, and this is how they disturb the normal balance of cytokines. Immune cell defects are due to the HIV, that is the second part. Almost all aspects of immunity are affected at the disease progression, and the impaired cell-mediated responses are due to CD4 T cells. There is rapid loss of memory helper T cells, and there is inability to replace these cells, leads to leading increased immunodeficiency. And CD4 T cells are also have to bound to GP120 that may not be available to interact with the class 2 MHC molecules on HPV infection, and that results in the T cell responses inhibition. Immune defects due to HIV is that on the CD8 and T cells is that the full differentiation of CD8 and CD3 cells are required for cytokines that are produced by the CD4 cells. And if this is the destruction, is progressive decline in the CD4 T cells over time, and is associated with the decrease in activation and survival of CD8 and cytotoxic T cells, resulting in a decreased ability to destroy the virality of infected cells. Immune defects due to the HIV, what will happen is that B cells impaired in neuronal response will be there, and the lymph nodes will become hyper. So B cells hyperactivity, polyclonal hyperglobulinemia due to enhanced non-specific IgA and IgG production will occur. They will be impaired AB isotypes and the switching and inability to respond to the specific antigen. Then high incidence of weak cell lymphocytes. Then in the lymph nodes, HIV kills the cells in the lymph node. And early infections, destruction of dendritic cell will occur. In late stage, there will be extensive damage and tissue necrosis, a loss of follicular dendritic cells and the germinal centers, and ability to trap the AGG and support activation system by the immune system by the dendritic cells and the B-reactive monocytes will also occur due to the inability to trap IgG and support activation. So what will happen in the B cells that there will be hyperactivity of B cells and that result in B cell lymphoma due to HIV. Then in the lymph nodes, what will happen? They will in the lymph nodes, they will kill your all cells. HIV will kill your all cells in the lymph nodes, and that results in later on tissue necrosis and loss of particular dendritic cells in the lymphocytes and the germinal centers of the lymph nodes, and the inability of the trapping antibodies. The immune system The immune system is impaired by impairing the innate immunity, and those are macrophages. Macrophages are infected directly by HIV or phagocytosis of the infected cells, and FC receptors mediated endocytosis might also play a role, and it acts as a reservoir of the virus. Normal functions are impaired, with includes phagocytosis, killing of the organisms, antigen presentation, and chemotaxis, and cytokine secretion. The neutrophils exhibit defective phagocytic function and impaired chemotaxis, which is the main role of neutrophils, and due to which there is imbalance of the cytokine production. Now, this is the progression of HIV. What will happen is, before starting with the HIV, I would like to ask you a question to mark your tenets in between. I want you to tell me that which of the HIV, one or two, are more common for the African part of the world? Which type of HIV is basically the reason to cause infection in African part of the world? You have to answer this question in order to mark your in between tenets. Which of the HIV which of the HIV part or the type is more common in African world? You have to mark your attendance by this. I will give you 5 minutes for that, and then we will continue with the progression of HIV infection. Which of the HIV is more common in the African part of the world? Which of the part or which of the type of HIV are more in the African part of the world? You will have to answer this question in order to mark your second attendance. Which of the HIV type is more common for the African part of the world, causing infection with the HIV virus? You have to answer this question. 2 more minutes you have in order to mark your second attendance for the next lecture. Which of the So the question I ask you for your second analysis is, which of the HIV type is basically responsible for causing HIV infection in the African part of the world? You carry on with the answers, and we will start with the second part of it, that is progression of HIV infection. After the initial infection with HIV, there is usually an acute flu-like illness, and this illness may include fever, headache, malaise. All the prodromal period symptoms will be there, along with the enlarged lymph nodes. But after this, the most individuals are clinically asymptomatic for years, and this is called the clinical latency period. If you see this page, what will happen is that the patient get exposed to the HIV, the patient will have acute HIV disease, and then for years the patient will not respond. After a few years, the clinical latency period will end, and then what will happen is the patient directly appear with the signs and symptoms of AIDS. That is your autoimmune deficiency. Frequently having fungal infections, frequently having bacterial infections or viral infections, by the opportunistic infections, especially the opportunistic infections, that will come into the severity. You know that normal infections, whenever we are having simple flus or viral fungal infections, they get treated and you're well. You will not have them again and again. But in the patients with the HIV or AIDS, what will happen is their immunity will be severely impaired, and that results into the opportunistic infection. So this is the progression how it happens. Okay, the immune response fails to eradicate all the viruses, and the viral load is maintained at a very low level, and the continuous decline of CD4 and T cells will occur. What will happen is that if you see these are three things which are marked here, and four things. The blue dotted one is CD4 T cells declination, then the aqua green, it's for neutrophils and antibodies, and then there is CT cells lack, and then the HIV viral load. If you see the red one, in the acute phase, the HIV viral load will be high in the blood, and then it will fall, and then it will be in a plateau phase when the patient is asymptomatic. Then again, it gets a much worse rise in the especially patient of AIDS when it becomes worse. The CD4 cells, if you see, they are normal in the acute phase, then they get decline, then they become normal after in the asymptomatic phase, and then in AIDS, they become very, very low, even till zero. This is the level. So you can see and you should know the comparison. And then this one, the neutrophils, they are initially low, then they become high and then become flatter phase. But later on in the AIDS patient, they also become down to the demarcation or the relative values. This picture is present in your books as well. You can see and compare. The primary HIV infections and the seroconversions are different. In the clinical features, on the first exposure, there is a 2 to 4 week period of intense viral replication before the onset of an immune response for the clinical illness. Acute illness, like flu-like symptoms that we discussed, last for 1 to 2 weeks and occur in 53% to 93% of the cases. Clinical manifestations resolve as antibodies to the virus become detectable in the patient serum, and the patients can then enter a stage of asymptomatic infection, last for months to years. In this period, you are unable to find anything in the blood. What is the stages of disease process? The early immune depletion stage is when their CD4 T cells are more than 500 mL of the blood. Healthy adults usually have CD4 T cells amount of 1000 or more. So if your CD4 cells level is less than 500, that means depleted to 500, less than 500, that means you are initially immune depleted. During this stage, the level of the virus in the blood is very low. HIV replication taking place mostly within the lymph nodes, generally lasts for 5 years or more. Persistent generalized lymphadenopathy without any other symptom may be noted, and usually symptom-free, but several autoimmune disorders may appear. Second stage is the intermediate stage of depletion, in which the CD4 cells is now between 500 to 200 ml. Usama, we will take the questions at the end, if you don't mind. Infection immune system decreases, and the infection commences to persist or increase as the CD4 cells count drops. Less severe infections, particularly of the skin and mucosa, appears, and other infections begins to manifest. That is your supervisory or superimposed infections due to the CD4 cells depletion. And the advanced immune defect, that is final stage of complete depletion, the CD4 cells may drop below 200 ml cells per millimeter cube. And the AIDS and acquired immune deficiency syndrome is marked by development of various opportunistic infections and malignancies. Without treatment, at least 50% of the people infected with HIV will develop AIDS within 10 years of the infection. Now, if you see this one, will give you a normal. This will give you a normal phase of it, as well as how opportunistic infection occur that also. Now, in the specific immunity, the antibody and cellular immunity is concerned, while in a non-specific one, complement system and the phagocytes are involved. The defense is basically against, these are defense against the bacteria and protozoa, many fungi and viruses as well, but less. The intracellular microorganisms are secured by cellular immunity. The complement system will control or defense against bacteria and fungi, and the phagocytes against viruses and protozoa. The infection complicated with impaired will cause pyogenic bacterial infections, that is Staphylococci, Streptococci, and Haemophilus, and some unusual viruses that are like polio or Echinococcus venosus. While in the cellular immunity, the viruses that are involved are cytomegalovirus and the Yersinia, herpes, measles. Fungi are Candida and Aspergillus, and Mycobacterium and Listeria are the bacteria which are more imposed on the specific immunity deficiencies and the protozoa, like pneumocystic carinavirus. Then non-specific immunity, there is pyogenic bacterial infections like Neisseria and some viruses. The other are bacterial infections like Staphylococci infections, and the fungal infections which are more are Candida and Aspergillus. Now, these are the opportunistic infections which are very, very common in the patients of AIDS or HIV infection. In the brain, it's cryptococcal meningitis and toxoplasmosis. In the eyes, it's cytomegalovirus. In the mouth and throat, it's cold, sores, and ulcers, and thrush for the candidiasis. In the lungs, it's histoplasmosis. In the lungs, it can be pneumocystic carinae as well as pneumonia and tuberculosis. In the stomach, it's cytomegalovirus. and cryptosporidiosis, and Mycobacterium avium complex. In the liver, it's hepatitis C virus, which is infection is superimposed in the patients of HIV. They are more prone to get hepatitis C viral infections as compared to the normal individuals. Now, reproductive system, there is genital ulcers, there is human papillomavirus, and cervical cancers, the menstrual problems, there is pelvic inflammatory disease, urinary tract infections, and vaginal yeast infections as well, like candidiasis. How to detect, diagnose? Before starting with the diagnosis, I would like Sama to ask the question. Sama, if you are hearing, if you want to ask any question, you can ask you now. If you want to ask any question, we could start the later part after your question. Okay, we will ask you later again. Diagnosis. Now, diagnosis of HIV is very important. As I told you, the patient either will appear with acute symptoms of flu in the initial part of the phase of infection or after 10 years with AIDS. So there's a huge difference between both parts. If you get the infection early diagnosed, you can treat the patient to some extent in order to save him from getting from becoming a patient of AIDS. So he might be a patient of infected HIV, but he is not having AIDS at that time. But after 10 years, maybe yes, he will be a proper case of AIDS, and you will not be able to stop the destruction already happened to his body or her body. So diagnosis is very important. The early detection is very important. Detection of the antibodies is one of the reasons how you diagnose the case. Then antigen detection, then viral nucleic acid detection, then virus isolation, and CD4 counts. These are all the tools by which we can diagnose the case. Antibody detection is through ICT kits. It's sensitive but not specific one. Then through ELISA, that is more authentic than the ICT kits, yields non-specific reactions, resulting in the false positive results, and confirmed by immunoblotting or the Western blotting, which invents the HIV virus proteins. The nucleic acid detection by PCR that detects the pro-viral DNA or viral RNA, and it is highly sensitive and specific, and it is the main cost effective because it's very sensitive and specific, and this is the main tool for diagnosing the viral infections like hepatitis and like HIV now for corona. Then nucleic acid detection by PCR that I told you can be used for test infant newborns from the already infected HIV patients. This is how we do indirect ELISA. Antigen coated well is there, and then it is washed and added an antibody. If the antibody reaction will occur, that will result in the formation of substrate, and that will give a different color. So you will easily detect that whether the HIV antibodies are present or not. This is a Western blot in which what you do is you add a protein into a gel well of gel, and then electrophoresis will occur, and through which the light glows, and a substrate is added, and which results in the formation of the shape. You will get a picture like this, and in which you will get a proper flame of the when the constructive and general proteins on HIV virus and in the type 1, type 2 or, and then you can detect whether these are present or not. If they are present, that is strongly positive. If they are weak, you cannot report them as a positive case, but they are weakly positive. Then there is a negative control which has nothing, and there are certain negative portfolio which you will not entertain. How to manage? The clinical management is primarily symptomatic, and goal is to give appropriate counseling and education to prevent the further spread. Issues of considerating patient self-reapproach and implication for the patient's lifestyle is very important, and contact tracing to identify the source is very important. The eradication of HIV is not possible with currently available drugs. Foreign protection cannot be completely suppressed. And the goals of the antiretroviral therapies are basically to suppress the viral replication. You got them some viruses in your body, don't want them to grow or multiply. So what you will do is you will stop the replication of the virus and improve quality of the life and reduce HIV morbidity and mortality. How you will reduce by stopping or by taking care of opportunistic infection. Combination of antiretroviral drugs are used, refer to the highly active retroviral therapy, and suppress levels of plasma and viremia for a longer period of time. And these plasma viremia is a strong prognostic factor in the HIV infection. Strategies are stop the entry of inhibitors like from the CD4 receptor cells. These are enfortumab GP41 and Marvero code which will act on GP120. Second one is to stop the reverse transcriptase blocker, that is nucleotide analogs, that AZT, ZDV, and LMV. Non-nucleosides are neoperamide. Then you can block the protease blockers, which is indinavir and ritonavir. Therapeutic options are basically the combination of reverse transcriptase inhibitors and protease inhibitors. These are the two which results in the basic replication steps of the HIV viruses. And in the most cases, two nucleosides analogs and one protease inhibitors are taken together. The heart that is highly active antiretroviral therapies are lower plasma viral loads in many cases levels are not adaptable at all. So by current methods, and has improved the health of AIDS patient to point that you cannot keep them to normal. You will try to save them from getting worse. Now this is the effective treatment on the viral load. If you give it in the first half, that will be a very effective thing. If you give a second phase, that will be next 14 days. It will be lesser than the previous one. And in the third phase, you have to continue as a latter phase. Why there is no cure for HIV? High mutation rate caused by the reversal transcriptase. The outer protein envelope mutates for the host immune system cannot recognize the destruction all HIV present or the destruction of all HIV are present. HIV permanently incorporate into the host DNA cell and development of drug resistant mutants is very important. That's why there is no cure for HIV. How you will prevent? Stop using the sharing of the needles once pricked by anyone. All the paramedical staff is highly recommended and asked to destroy the needle before throwing it into the yellow basket or yellow bag. And exposure to the infected blood, once you get exposure, you have to prevent. There's pre-exposure measurements and the post-exposure measurements in order to get this one. As a medical personnel, you are more prone to get infection because you might don't know that the prick you have from your patient was whether HIV positive or not. So whenever there is any incidence of prick, you have to ask the patient to go for the HIV screening as well as you yourself have to screen yourself for the HIV and all prick-related infections like hepatitis B and C and many more. Then you should know that HIV is power. How you have to control this disease. How you can stop HIV converting into AIDS. And if you are once in AIDS category, how to better make your life better. How to stop morbidity and mortality rates or decrease mortality and morbidity rates. And a safe sex protection is very important. It has been noticed that HIV has more vulnerability spreading in persons with having sex with the same gender, like from male to male. And this is very, very unfortunate that North Africa has most of these cases are resulted from the same gender sex, especially from men to men. And this is very, very bad. And you have to post and you should better do in the preventions. One should have a single number of sex members, and this is very important. How to prevent with the sexual transmission? That is abstain, delay contact, and there is should be sexual contract, and they should be you should be faithful to your partner, and they should know more than one partner regime as Alhamdulillah in Islam is concerned. And use of condom for the safe sex is very important as it will be act as a barrier for many situations infected by the HIV patient. So if you don't know about the other partner, so that will prevent you. These things are very important. Then there are certain things we notice that the infectious dose of HIV patient is much more higher than the hepatitis B and C. That's why they are more vulnerable to be spreaded. There's no history of spreading of HIV through water or any other object other than the four things which we discussed. And unless these cells either the HIV directly get into the other person through infection or through the infected cells. So that's why when you donate blood, your blood cells might contain HIV if you are HIV positive. Then it is said that the circumcisions are very important because it's an extra second fold of the skin on the male sex organ. This results in the vulnerable infection chances. So it's very less commonly seen in the circumscribed males. So we should better go for circumcision as well when we are talking about the public awareness is that you have to educate the people about HIV, how it's spreaded, and then once it is spreaded, how you prevent it from getting the patient from an HIV positive to AIDS condition. AIDS is a very worse condition. Your own body is not playing with you in that case, and they are not appearing when they need you. So that's why it's very important to stop HIV converting to AIDS. And safe sex campaigns should be ignored, though in Pakistan, because of certain religious barrier or some cultural barriers, we are unable to talk loudly about safe sex protections. But there are certain NGOs which are working on them, especially in the areas where the prostitution is very common and they are known to have more than one sex partner. So that's why they are given proper lectures for having safe sex campaigns, and this will result in a little bit of betterment in spreading HIV, especially from those areas which are known to be well known for the prostitution areas. And if you are using proper condoms and other barriers, that will be very helpful. There are certain HIV centers which are working through under the different private NGOs, and those are the ones who get awareness to the people who don't know. So they should know, especially the people who are uneducated. They are more prone to get these type of things from the prostitution or from more than one members if they have in their lives. This was all about the HIV lecture, but if you have any questions, you can ask. The most important things you should know about HIV is their structure and the protein part, which I told you in the between. Then you should remember that there are three categories of clinical condition of HIV infection, that is mild, moderate, or severe. In the mild, the CD4 cells level will be less than 1000, that is normal, but it will be more than 500. If it is between 500 to 200, that is moderate form of disease. And if it is between the less than 200, it is severe form or it is moving to the AIDS part. Then you should know that there are certain lead controllers which are sent to those patients who are HIV positive, but you cannot detect HIV because there is very less level or low level of the infective virus in the blood. So you are not able to detect them. So that's why, and this is very, they are not having any symptoms, they will not have any kind of condition, but they will just be having HIV and they can spread them. Right. At the age or at a stage where they have a vulnerable part of a number of HIV viruses in the body. Then after that, you should know that how to prevent. Being with pre-exposure and post-exposure, there are certain disease drugs which you get, that is lamivudine and zidovudine. These two are very important, and these are the ones used for the pre and post-exposure of the viruses, HIV virus. Then life cycle is very important, you should know. And in the treatment, I have shown you the same picture. You can again say, these are the some important points. Then the list of opportunistic infections and the chart. This is very important part. This is also present in your book. A little bit different, but it is there in your book. And there is a list of opportunistic infections that can happen to the body after having HIV. So you should know all these things because HIV is a very hot topic and favorite one in the vivas, especially in even in the written. It has the written. There is a theory question and some MCQs might come from the HIV part. This is also very important. Today we have finished our virology, but the most important thing is you should know which are the important viruses. As I told you before, all the viruses which are included in your EME program, that is your vaccination program for the kids, are very important. Then all the HIV, hepatitis type B virus, A to E, all the types are very important. And then the HIV virus is very important, and the corona, obviously, because it's very hot topic these days. So you should know all these viruses, go through in detail about it, and replication cycle of HIV in hepatitis B cell is very important, as they ask frequently questions in the and the transmission and prevention. You should know all these topics on accordingly. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Sama, if you have any question, you can ask now. And any other of you, if you have any questions, you can ask. Your attendance will be marked by the question I have asked you in between. If any of you ask questions if you want. If you have any question, you can ask. For HIV, you should know the immune system, the normal immune system, and then how it is affected by CD4 cells. You should know. Okay, I think you should know. You have learned everything. If you want to ask, you can ask any question, or I will leave. From Monday onwards, you will be having genetics for your concentration. Concentration is in the last module of your third year. Thank you.